Yo, what up, a-holes? Thank you for tuning into the Holistic A-Hole podcast. My name is Erik Levi, and I'm the Holistic A-Hole, the mommy blogger with balls, the inconvenient truth of health. What's up, everybody? Hope you're having a good day, evening, night. I hope you're listening to this at night, because it's sexy, and nighttime is sexy. Yeah, I want to talk about the sexiest topic I could possibly think to talk about, especially if you're listening to this at night. It's going to be mad sexy. Food politics. Oh, man. Doesn't that just get the sexual juices a-flowing? Yeah, it's there. It's a real thing, and I find it really interesting. And I actually had a chance to go watch the author of the super popular blog and book, Food Politics, Marion Nestle. I think that's how you say your name, Nestle or Nestle. Might be Nestle. But it's spelled like Nestle, the chocolate. And she's got a new book out. It's called Unsavory Truth. And it's about what is it about? It's about all the money that goes into funding for scientific studies for food and nutrition. And she wrote a whole book about it. And I haven't read the book, but I did go see her talk about the book, and then she took some questions. And I just want to talk about that a little bit because I do love the topic of food politics, food policy. It's really almost kind of the reason, one of the biggest reasons why I do this podcast and why I'm so interested in health and nutrition, and why I can't turn away. It's because the food politics is so interesting, especially the last episode. I know I talked about actual politics. I'm not rebranding to a political podcast, but I do want to talk about food politics because it is interesting, because it really is the idea and the reason why the food that you eat is available to you in the first place. And when you put the two together, between the politics of food and the way that people actually eat, you can see the actual results of those policies in front of you, with the record numbers of obesity and autoimmune diseases. I mean, I feel like almost every woman I talk to right now has Hashimoto's, or is hypothyroid or hyperthyroid. That's not supposed to happen. I mean, so many more people are borderline diabetic, they're pre-diabetic. Just in record numbers, children are pre-diabetic. People are, bones are just brittling out. People are on, all kinds of SSRIs and anti-anxiety medications. I mean, this shit is not normal. And so it is interesting when you start digging into the food politics. Marion Nestle also wrote a book called Soda Politics, which was specifically about the soda industry, which is also extremely interesting, despite the fact that we know that soda is a poison. We know that it will kill you. We know that it does zero good for your body and does exponentially more bad for your body. People still drink it. And how is that possible? It's possible because the soda companies know how to play the game. I mean, plain and simple. And what they do is, and this isn't just the soda companies. This is the meat companies, the dairy companies, the egg companies, the coffee companies, the fruit companies, the vegetable companies. And they're like, a lot of them are like the union boards and the whatever they call them, like the charitable organization that fronts the nonprofit that fronts the whole industry, what I mean, like the Beef and Cattlemen's Association and the National Dairy Council, these quote unquote democratically elected boards of overseers that oversee the safety and the way that the whole industry works. They're the ones who fund these studies, and they're paid for by the food companies. The food companies basically give those smaller those organizations the money so they can pretty much write the studies that say, eat 12 eggs a day and it will help you lose 15 pounds in 3 weeks. Eat blueberries and dudes, you'll lose your erectile dysfunction. You'll get your functioning erections back. Just eat blueberries. and there's a study out there, and they have they have the placebo, the controls, the freaking what are they called, the main thing they're studying. They'll have the double blind trial, and they'll pay for all of it. The Blueberry company will write the study, and then they'll get the USDA to fund it, and then it'll get signed off by some doctors. They don't have to do the research. The research has already been done. It was done by the company who went through the channels to get the whole thing freaking hooked up in the first place, to get the whole study funded in the first place. So it's just, and everybody does this. So this is what her new book is about. And also keep in mind that it's complicit with the rules of the USDA and the FDA. Nothing is illegal here. And me personally, like, I can't not think about something like, Citizens United, right? Where these corporations are people. Because, again, they're the ones that are funding the studies. Coca-Cola will fund a study that, that's, I think about like 7-Up or Mountain Dew or even Coke, and they're like, drinking a Coke is, better for your heart than broccoli or something. I don't think that's a real study, but these are like examples of the studies, and they can be pretty ridiculous. And, the rules are in place. They can just do that stuff. So, to me, this is the most important conversation that's not being talked about, because they also work with the media outlets. The media outlets put the stories out. They get the money to put the stories out. There's just so much. It's all propaganda now. You can't believe. So if someone starts hitting you with all these studies, and then they're like, your eggs, are 15% more likely to give you, prostate cancer or something, check the source. Right? Check who funded the study. Sometimes you have not companies that are directly giving to the studies. Like, sometimes they'll just be like, this study was funded by Kraft, or this study was funded by the Meat and Dairy Council, or donations were given. But sometimes it'll be like, you have to look at the actual scientists and then say, oh, Dr. Mary Feingold, she was in the study, and then you got to click her name, find out that she works for, she might be a professor at USC, and she got a grant for research from Monsanto, So sometimes you have to go through multiple channels to find the shenanigans happening. This is just the world. This is the way the world works. So even if Monsanto doesn't pay for a study, they might have a person who they gave money to at a previous time who is now doing the research that they were indirectly funded by for Monsanto. And sometimes those studies, I've heard the Mind Pump guys talking about this, where they've done studies that were funded by they took money from the meat and dairy people, and they said, well, no way did it affect the research. And I believe that these organizations are big enough that there are probably a lot of legit studies they do. They probably have numbers. I don't think they're all, BS. Like the American Heart Association, they have a lot of tomfoolery going on, but I don't think they're all BS. I think there's probably good people who work for these organizations, but, at some point in the supply chain, the message gets skewed by people who are like, well, how can we make sure that the system that's set up right now keeps working? So you have to, you have to fund some shenanigans, right? I believe there's a story about Palm, the drink, the pomegranate drink. It's called Palm. Apparently, they funded a whole study about pomegranates, and their name I don't think was directly on it, but you go down the line, and it was like, oh yeah, these people funded a study about pomegranates and said pomegranates are, the healthiest fruit, or they have all these medical benefits. And so what do people do? They go start buying a ton of palm. So these studies are actually written by the marketing companies, because this is the best marketing you're going to find. You could have like a million commercials out there, billboards, Facebook ads, whatever it is, about people drinking palm and loving it. But then when a study comes out and it's put on the news and CNN and all the radio shows, and they're like, "Did you hear palm? Lowers heart disease by 15% or whatever it is." What I don't know. I don't have the study in front of me. I have no idea what it says. This is just what I've kind of heard through the grapevine, or not. But I read the study. I just don't have the numbers in front of me. This is how they sell more palm. The study comes out and it's all over the news. And then people are like, I got to get more pomegranates. How do I get more pomegranates? I go drink palm. So, this is why, when you see something like this come out, you have to go immediately and Google this stuff, right? You have to Google it and see for yourself who funded it, and then make your decision yourself. Because again, it might not be shenanigans, but typically, there are some outrageous results that are worth questioning. And, there's some pretty standard players, of course, eggs, coffee, meat, dairy, gluten, cholesterol. These are like the big hitters you see out there. So, definitely, when you hear anything about these like topics, soda for sure. If you ever see a study come out that says anything about soda is good for you, immediately you could just say bullshit, or B, you could say, all right, I'm curious who this person was funded by, and you get your answer. So, I just want to throw that out there because, again, it was a pretty big election week, and the news is going crazy with us trying to care about politics and trying to make you believe that this is part of the democratic process. This isn't, man. They're still going to poison you, and that's what the food politics is all about. That's where my head's at. So, hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I'd love to know what you think. If you agree, if you disagree, if you're a food politics fan yourself, shoot me a tweet, shoot me an Instagram. What is it? Picture or something. Take a screenshot in your Instagram, put your thoughts there. Hit me up at Holistic A-Hole. Also, if you haven't done this yet, make sure you subscribe. Go on to iTunes, leave a 5-star review, or Apple Podcast feed, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Oh, and join the Holistic A-Holes Facebook group. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.